Welcome, mercenaries. It's Osama. Welcome to the Syndicate. Today's episode is going to be a special episode from my brother, Citizen to a Citizen. He requested a video about nice price scopes to shoot out to a mile. So I'm going to be doing an overview on that, listing competitors that I would put in contention for that job. And I will list some things about long range shooting and what you would need to make the mile shot. All right, so this is for you, brother. All right, first thing first, when it comes to long range shooting, and I'm gonna use my little board here, is you're gonna know that, and I hope you can see that, but Mirage, that's gonna be your main factor when you're going out towards a mile. Now, depending on where you live at and your altitude of where you're shooting at, depends on how heavy or how light the Mirage will be. Also, for number 2, and I know I don't have the best penmanship, mercenaries, but that doesn't matter. But zoom or magnification range, you're going to need something that's going to be very, very capable of seeing the actual target. So for purposes, we're going to use 1 times magnification is what they say you should have at 100 yards. So for every 100 yards is 1 times magnification. So if you're shooting up to 500 yards, 5x will be your go-to magnification. Now, I know everybody's vision is different. Some people might need 7 or 10 magnification. But in this purposes about this video, we're just going to go with the basics. So 1x for every 100 yards. So a mile is 1,760 yards. That's a mile. And I'll go ahead and note that here. All right. So in my, we'll say estimation, but in my experience, you're going to need a very good capable scope that's going to take you out to a mile. So just using this broad here, this broad statement here, we will say 18x will be our go-to magnification shooting at the mile. Okay, 18 times magnification. Now, if you have a scope that's a higher power, it never hurts to go up a little higher. But now this is the catch of where we're going on. So when you're shooting out to distance, remember, Mirage is going to be your number 1 enemy. So you're going to need glass that's going to be able to cut through to the Mirage, or should I say just cut through the Mirage to basically where you can see your target downrange. Now also when it comes to the zoom here, I'm going to make another note, and y'all write this down because I'm going to grab a paper towel, erase, and I'm going to do some more writing. So also you have to think about this also. When you get into higher magnification, your sight picture gets darker. And I know that's probably not the best R. Let me see if I can try to do a little makeshift here. Your sight picture is going to get darker. So the higher you go in the Mirage, the erector tube has to do more work to allow the light to come in to actually give you, through your eye lens here, through the scope, to allow you to get a good picture. So for my Razor Gen 3 6-36, when I get about 28 power, and that might be pushing it because I haven't been that high in a while in the magnification, the image totally starts to get darker, like it's looking like it's darker outside. So you also have to think about that also. So you don't always want to see, like, you have people who are going for the highest magnification they can get. And the only reason why people who get those high magnification, and I'm talking about, we'll use for an example, Vortex Golden Eagle. People who shoot F-class, those small little holes at 1,000 yards, those are the people who use those type of magnification. So remember, when you go higher, and this is just, I'm just using when you going higher, and I guess I'll just put that greater than sign. When you're greater than 18x, the sight is going to get darker. Okay? Also, when you do elevation, so I will put that here. Elevation, that's what you use when you're using your top turret to adjust your up and down on your scope. Elevation is key also. So with my scope, I have my scope base a little higher, so when I zero, I bring it down, and also gives me a little bit more top end on the top end of the turret. So it comes with the factory a total of 36 mils of elevation. So now with me having my scope base higher, and I'm using mine, if I had to remember, because I'm just doing this offhand, mercenaries, I will say that my scope base, I'm just going to use for a preference, is 2.5 inches. So off my Picatinny rail, my scope will sit exactly 2.5 inches up, which allows me to dial down on my scope to where if I'm shooting, and we'll just use that as an arrow, showing that the rifle and the bullet's going out this way, is that I don't need much to dial because I'm shooting lower because my scope is sitting higher. So if you have like a ballistics calculator and they ask you what's your scope height over bore, you will basically add the scope height of your scope mount and add that on to where the center of your barrel meets that, and that's your scope height adjustment that you will put, because it's all about timing when you're doing your scopes. So I'm gonna grab me a little piece of paper or a paper towel, mercenaries, and wipe that off. And I'm gonna have to go back over this stuff again, so stay with us. And I guess I'll try to put a little cheat sheet up here. Mirage, zoom, elevation, scope height. Okay, so remember, scope height only involves the range that you're using, but that's also important to whatever setup that you're using. So to go back into it, let's see, we'll get into now FFP, SFP. First focal plane, second focal plane. Basically what that does, or what it means is, if I'm shooting a scope that's a first focal plane, what kind of best way to do it? All right. Not the best circle, but we'll just say this here, we'll just use 5x. And this will be our reticle. Okay? So now if we zoom in, and we'll just use here 10x. In first focal plane scopes, the crosshair or the reticle of your selection will always be true to power at that magnification. So the more you zoom in, the more that you will see your reticle adjust to the magnification. And I'm not gonna be the best, but I'll just do a little something here. Okay, and this is because I'm pressed for time here. So this here we will say is 10x, but if we have a reticle, we'll just use like a Trimmer 3 reticle or just another type of Christmas tree reticle, to where you will have wind holds here, and when you zoom in, you can more see the presence of the wind holds versus you being out at base magnification or starting magnification. It will probably just look like this because those fine lines on the reticle are so small, they don't come to fruition till you get into a higher magnification. So second focal plane, and I'll just draw this one down here. Second focal plane will always stay the same no matter what magnification. So it could be the same 5x. It's going to look like that. And it's going to be 10x. It's going to look the same. Even though I drew them different sizes, the size of that reticle is going to be the same no matter what power you're in. So in most applications, most people shoot first focal plane, but there are applications to where first focal plane will not work, and you will need to shoot a second focal plane scope. Okay? So that's next on the list. Now, we'll go down to everybody's least favorite discussion: price. This is where it starts to get tricky. So Citizen to a Citizen want to know budget friendly, and budget is an adjective that describes someone's budget. So I told him to be a little bit more specific. He said his budget was $1,000. Okay, $1,000. I'll probably try to name, and these are new scopes in the box that you can order from Palmetto State Armory, Optics Planet, Euro Optic, places like that, maybe Kinsey's Optics, you know, anywhere that sells sports optics, and sportoptics.com, Liberty Optics. Scott will look out for you. And here we go. So for new, $1,000 is the threshold. And this is in no particular order, but these are the scopes that I would go for first. Always messing up, mercenaries. Always messing up. I think that is a... Ooh, excuse me. All right, mercenaries. So I'm just gonna use these three. So I would go with the Meopta Optica 6, so OPTIKA 6, and that is a 5 to 30, or if it's not a 5 to 30, it's going to be a 4.5 by 29 magnification range. So I just split that off just like that. It's either the 5 to 30 or it's 4.5 by 29. Next, the Athlon Aries 4 to 29. Scope is made in China, but punches above its price point. Vortex PST Gen 2 5 to 25. And these scopes are under or at $1,000, brand new. So to answer your question, brother, if you're looking for new in the box, these would be my top 3 choices. If you need to probably try to stretch it out to a mile. But I remember you saying that you're shooting 308, so I don't think that's going to work. You're not going to have much elevation to dial, and you have to use the rest in your reticle. So, with that being, we'll just put that as the new category, and we'll go here for the used. See if I can come up with one more. I just put this one in there. All right, for just a few more $100 on the used market, these would be the 3 scopes that I would recommend. You have the Athlon Cronus BTR Gen 2, which is a 4.5 by 29 magnification scope. Now, I've seen these, and it could be a Gen 1 that's used, but I've been seeing them around used $1,200 to $1,300. And these scopes here sell about brand new like $1,500, $1,600, and they punch way high above their price point with more of a $2,000 scope. So if I had to choose between any of these, brother, I would recommend you go with the Athlon for another $200, buying and using. You can find some that are on a forum online that have been, taken care of. The Steiner T5 XI 5 to 25. Only reason why I thought hard about this scope is that this scope does have some chromatic aberration issues that has been noted in the years. I was going to put the T6 on there, but those are about 1,800 and about 1,800 new and about 1,400 used, so just a little bit higher. So that's the only reason why I didn't go with the T6, and I mean that like the 3 to 18, that can get you out there to a mile. And the Night Force NXX 5.5 to 22. Night Force is a good staple. This is the precursor before you get to the NX8, and those are in the $1,600 to $2,000 range, used to about new for the NX8. So that's why I went with NXS. You still might see these around, but I want to say you can still find them out there for a good deal if you look. And these would be the 6 scopes that I would recommend, brother, in your price range. And I'm just going to put here so 1,000 above this would be this section right here, brother. So think about that. Top 3 that I would recommend new, top 3 that I would recommend used. And now we're going to go into another topic here. Mil versus MOA. So you have either milliradian or minute of angle turrets on your scopes. I'm basically have been converted to a mil shooter, even though my first scope that I shot out was an MOA. I think mils is just a little bit more easier since you're dealing with a tenth of a decimal than going with quarter, half, 3/4 whole on MOA. They both basically do the same thing. It's just how you use a formula to get there. Now, I'm gonna have to cut this one short and do you a part 2, brother, because I'm gonna dive into the mil versus MOA and what you can use if someone gives you dope for either one, how to convert it. So, mil versus MOA, you can't go wrong with either or. They both basically do the same thing, but most people in the PRS or long range are shooting mil scopes. And it doesn't make a price difference if you shoot a mil or MOA. That has nothing to do with the price. So this is about your optical system. Are you a mil shooter or a minute of angle shooter? So that's going to probably be it right now. Citizen to a citizen. I'm going to give you a part 2 later on. This is just something to start. I got to do some errands around here. So take you a picture of this or a mental note, brother. And we're going to go over some more things in part 2. And stick around, mercenaries. The general is in session today. All right. Osama, out.